Fresh from his successes at Weissenhaus, we have Grandmaster Vincent Keymer now playing at the Prague Masters 2025. And his opponent? Well, the top seed of the tournament and the number one Chinese player, Wei Yi. This promises to be a very exciting clash because Wei Yi is known for his solidity. He loves to play solid chess. He hardly makes mistakes. Meanwhile, Vincent might well be in the best form of his life because he beat Alireza, Caruana and Magnus Carlsen in match format at Weissenhaus, and so he is definitely feeling the high. A first round cracker that we are going to witness here as Wei Yi adjusts all his pieces, also adjusts the clock. The Prague Masters is a tournament that is super exciting. We have Pragnananda here, we have Arvind Chidambaram, Anish Giri, Lei Kwong Liam, so a very strong tournament. And our guest of honor comes in and makes the first move, d4. The players greet the guests, and I believe it is time to start the game. Vincent takes back the pawn. And what is the opening that he's going to choose? Because in freestyle chess, he was absolutely flawless. The players shake hands and the clock begins. Vincent opens with 1d4. Now, Wei Yi has played many different openings. And I think based on his mood, he will go for something aggressive, something positional. c4 played here. And you could go for g6 ideas, e6. Let's see what he chooses. Wei Yi decides to be solid and he pushes his pawn to e6. And Vincent is ready for the Nimzo Indian with knight to c3. An interesting choice by Vincent Keymer. Bishop b4 comes in. He pins the knight and takes control of the e4 square. The queen comes up to c2. This is all preparation, controlling the e4 square. Also, you want to take back with the queen, castles by black. And now a3 is the main move here, but also very popular is e4, which is more sharp, and that is what Vincent goes for. He pushes his pawn to e4, capturing the center. Pawn to d5 played, and black also has now captured some space in the center. White pushes forward with e5. And now knight e4 is played, getting the knight into the center of the board. This is considered to be very solid for black. But let's see what Vincent has on his mind. He plays a3. Although the more common move is bishop d3 here, but a3 is what Vincent plays. Pawn takes pawn. Very natural, all of this play. Pawn takes pawn. White now bolsters his center and maybe at some point hopes to attack the knight on e4. Black has to do something because ahead in development, so c5 makes all the sense. You can get your knight out, you can get your queen out. The bishop is slightly passive on c8. Bishop d3, again a very solid move, attacking the knight on e4. And Wei Yi, okay, knight c6 is possible, queen a5 is possible, pawn takes pawn is possible. He takes the pawn in the center, c takes d4. Will be interesting to see how Vincent decides to continue after cd4 and a queen a5 check. I think that's the thing. You can see the times on the clock. Vincent has 1 hour 34 minutes, so he's clearly very well prepared. Takes cd4, and so here queen a5 check is possible when king f1 or bishop d2 can be played. But first Wei Yi decides to bring his knight out to c6 and attacks the pawn on d4. There's still no time to win this pawn in the center because the d4 pawn is hanging. So Vincent first defends the pawn on d4 with knight e2. And you can't take here because the knight on e4 is hanging. So queen comes to a5. And I believe that if white plays bishop d2, then you can take, king takes, dc4, bishop c4, rook d8, and this should be roundabout even. So that's the reason why Vincent plays this very surprising move, king f1, which actually is not surprising once you realize bishop d2 is not that great. But this has been played before. It's not like it's the first time, and Wei Yi also finds the best move here, f6. Of course, the point is that now f3 does not trap the knight because fe5 opens up the rook against the king. So now Vincent takes on e4, still in his prep. Pawn takes on e4, and he takes on f6, which also makes sense because now later on you want to win this pawn on e4. So rook takes f6 seems like a normal way to continue. Yes, rook takes f6. And now the thing is, this pawn here is hanging. But if you take here, then queen a4 is a very strong move, attacking c4 and d1. So that's why Vincent plays bishop e3, and I like this move a lot because with this he's defending the pawn on d4 and now threatening to take the pawn on e4. So Wei Yi plays bishop d7, also a very logical move. His point is that if you decide to still win the pawn, I'll start mounting on the c4 pawn with knight a5, and I have great compensation here. So let's see what Vincent comes up with. He has 1 hour 35 minutes on the clock and still in his preparation plays king g1. Well, he kind of safeguards his king. The rook seems a little bit cornered here on h1, but I think the idea is to play h4 and activate it. The black rook comes into the game, rook f8. And now h4 with the idea of rook h3, or h4 with the idea of h5, rook h4 makes a lot of sense. He plays h4. And black has to decide what way to continue. Knight e7. I like this approach by black, by Wei Yi, where he is kind of giving up this pawn in the center, but going to play on the light squares. And how is he going to play on the light squares? With bishop c6, knight f5, and so on. So Vincent does take the pawn on e4. And yeah, a move like bishop c6 doesn't make much sense because of d5 and your knight is hanging here on e7. So first, I think it's important to get the knight to f5. That's what he plays. And you are wanting to get rid of this bishop so that the f2 square is opened up. Bishop g5 played here by Vincent. Very, very direct. You can go back with your rook, by the way. It looks completely fine. But Wei Yi decides to get very sharp. He plays knight d6. Excellent. If you play queen e5, I can take, pawn takes, and play rook f2 attacking this knight. So I'm not losing my knight here. Knight d6. So let's say where the queen goes, Vincent now decides to play queen d3. You can see the pace of the game has changed now. You can go back rook 6 f7, which is very, very solid, which just basically makes black say, I believe in my compensation, but Wei Yi goes rook f2. He takes here and he allows Vincent to play this very, very dangerous move, bishop e7. It's a double attack on the knight and the rook. But the idea now is that you want to go bishop c6. Incredible. Incredible what's going on. Because after bishop f8, there is rook g2, king f1, bishop e4 with queen f5 ideas, and this is very, very sharp. So instead, Vincent just plays rook h2 and defends it, saying that I still am attacking both these pawns. And now Wei Yi finds the best move, queen f5. Fantastic move, trading the queens. So take, queen takes f5, and now, I mean, you cannot take with the knight. Your rook is hanging here, here it's also hanging, so you have to take with the rook. And bishop d6 is now met with rook e2 when black is completely fine. So the point here, of course, is that you want to attack the rook with knight g3. And when you do that, black wants to take on c4 and give up the exchange. But d5, what a move here by Vincent. What a move that he has played. And this move is super deep. Why is he giving up a pawn here? Well, pawn takes pawn. I believe his idea here is that he wants to now move the knight to g3. And the question remains, what has he gained by giving up the pawn on d5? Like, he could have played this. In fact, he seems to have just lost a pawn, hasn't he? Well, here's the point. Bishop c5, a key intermezzo move, attacking the rook here. This is why he freed it up. Black has to waste a move with rook f4. And now you take on f5. Vincent is just in such great form. Rook f5. And now you take on a7. Just absolutely incredible what Vincent Keymer is doing here. Bishop a7. Not that his position is winning. Wei Yi has still compensation. If you look at it, he has a pawn and a knight for the rook. And also this central pawn on d5 is pretty strong. It can start running. He goes b6 to block the bishop from coming out. But yeah, I mean, the position is pretty sharp here. I think rook c1 with the idea of bishop takes b6, knight b6, rook takes c6 is possible. Vincent has 10 minutes on the clock and 12 more moves to make before they reach move 40. He goes rook h3, activating the rook. Of course, white is playing for the full point here. And what is Wei Yi's idea going to be? How is he going to continue? Should he go for counterplay? Should he play solidly? He goes rook f7, attacking the bishop. And Vincent saves it with bishop b8. And d4, the pawn starts to roll forward. The only problem with this pawn moving forward is that now these pieces are no longer super solidly placed. Rook c1 attacking here. If you play bishop d5, I have rook d3, whereby you will lose this pawn. So not so easy. He goes b5, defending the knight. But now to destabilize it, you have a4. He plays it. And one thing to notice here is that while you are playing against these pawns as white, actually what you really want to be doing is playing against this king. With the two rooks, it can lead to a very huge attack. So rook d7, a good move played here by Wei Yi. Pawn takes pawn, bishop takes. He's defended the knight here. And now rook b3 seems like a fantastic move, attacking the bishop on b5. And Vincent finds it. Rook b3 played. So he attacks the bishop. Now the bishop has to move. So he goes rook to d5. And here the clear point is, if you take and take here, the bishop is hanging. So that doesn't work. So he comes back bishop f4. And now he's threatening to take and take here. Again, Wei Yi has the only move here. He finds it, knight e5. Coming back. But you can see the king is a bit lonely. The rook can enter into the camp. Rook c7. He gives a check first, provoking the king to come up. And maybe now he wants to give a check again. So he gives a check. Of course, you don't want to go back. If you go back now after bishop e5, rook e5, rook f3, the rook infiltrates. So he goes king f6, the most logical move. While Vincent has been super accurate, Wei Yi too has been incredible here. Both have been playing beautiful chess. Rook b7 attacking the bishop. Notice how these rooks want to enter into the camp. Bishop d7 again finds the best move. Blocking here. If check, maybe you want to go up king f5. So that's the plan. He goes rook g3. Creating pressure here. You can see the time. Also players down to their last few seconds. But they are nearing move number 40. Again knight g4. What a classy move. If you take and rook g4, there is king f5. And black is the one who wins. So here bishop g5 check. 40th move done. So 30 extra minutes will be received. King f5 played. And now let's see what Vincent does here. How much time does he take for his next move? Is there a way he can put more pressure? He goes rook f3 check. And once again, king g6 is what you want to play here. Vincent took roughly 4 to 5 minutes for that move. So Wei Yi goes king g6. And now black. King is a bit under pressure, but check. And I guess Wei Yi feels that his king will be safer on the h5 square. Makes a lot of sense, putting the king there, because it keeps pressure on the h4 pawn. It threatens h6. There's no way to attack the king so easily. He goes rook f7 here. And this is one nice mate. Just rook h7 will lead to a mate. So some pressure, but h6 should be a good move here. He goes rook a5. And his point is very clear. If you get greedy taking this, it's a checkmate on the back rank. So rook d6 played here by Vincent. And of course the point being, now check. I come back with my rook. A rook trade should be fine for me because this and this are hanging. So you don't give a check. Wei Yi plays bishop f5. Again a fantastic move, preparing rook a1 checkmate. And Vincent comes back. You can see both players using so much of their time. They're down to 9 minutes. Wei Yi has 11 minutes 30 seconds. Bishop c1 is a nice move. He goes d3. Again a classy move here. And Vincent asks another question. Rook g7. Now the best move here, perhaps rook e5. Threatening a mate here on e1. If you play bishop d2, I can go back to b5, threatening a mate there, but takes on h4. And I think that's also not a bad move. King takes h4. But, okay, I mean, this pawn is a bit weak. The king is looking a bit shaky. How does Vincent put more pressure? But look at the time on his clock. He's down to 1 minute 25 seconds. He goes rook f7. Again, rook e5 makes a lot of sense. Just trying to activate. But Wei Yi goes wrong. He goes bishop e4. I mean, it's a subtle error, but I can understand. He wants to get his bishop out from the rook's attack so that he can activate his other rook here on a1. But now Vincent, can he find rook d4, which is the best move in the position with just 1 minute on the clock? Well, he finds it. What a move. Rook d4 played here. So he's attacking on e4. He's attacking g4. The knight is pinned. The d pawn is not moving ahead. Maybe rook a1 needs to be played, but he goes bishop f5. And now rook f4. What speed. You are attacking here. Oof. If bishop g6, there is rook f3 threatening a mate. That is the insane point here. Wow. And so all of a sudden, this idea is just so powerful because the bishop controls the escape route. Wei Yi doesn't have a way to deal with this. I mean, maybe rook a1 is the solution when you go rook f1. But it's still very complicated because there are mating ideas there as well. He goes d2. And maybe if you take here, he wants to give a check. So bishop d2 played. Check. And I think it's only wise what Wei Yi is doing because he's trying to exchange off the rooks. And now his king would not get mated is the feeling. King f1. And is this winning is the question for white. He's exchange up. The bishop is hanging, but it seems like it might not be very simple. Like, bishop d3 check. King g1. And now bishop e4. He plays his bishop into the center of the board, attacking g2, keeping all these pieces active. But this is a huge mistake. And the reason for it is, I mean, he had to escape with his king here. That was very important. Because bishop e4, he has now let white, there's no check on f5, right? So when the king is coming out, there's no check. So king g6, rook g5, you lose here. But now you can move your rook away. Like what Vincent does, rook a7. Fantastic move. The point being that if king h5, rook check, king g6, rook g5 check, and you lose the knight. So now the king cannot escape here. That's the big point. So a huge mistake there by Wei Yi. And we were talking about how this king looks safe with the trade of one rook. But actually, it's not true. Because now the rook comes to a5. Fantastic move, cutting the king off, threatening bishop e1. Checkmate. There's just no move left. Bishop e1 is a mate. Wow, Wei Yi resigns. What a finish this was. What a finish. Absolutely incredible. And, Vincent Keymer has perhaps played one of the most accurate games of his life. He kept posing so many questions to Wei Yi that at some point the Chinese Grandmaster collapsed. And I think they are discussing about how perhaps when the rook is on f7, he has to come back to h5 and not, play the bishop, so that, and then whether it's winning or not is a question. But I love how Wei Yi has kind of decided to stay back, analyze. He's definitely one of the gentlemen in the game of chess. Always calm, cool, collected. And you can even see a smile on his face in spite of losing such an important game. Because I just feel that he wants to learn from this experience. It's not a common trait amongst top players, actually. They all want to learn, but some want to learn on their own. But here is Wei Yi wanting to learn from Vincent, discuss with him, get to know his thoughts. And I think that really helps if you become very, very objective about what went wrong. And I think it helps you to improve as a player, as Vincent just sets up the entire board here and puts back the pieces. A very, very interesting round one. And I feel after this game, Vincent Keymer is definitely someone to watch out for in this tournament.